We have to like delete any of that.
Okay.
We have again with
Just
semester.
slides with like scope and methodology. That's what we're going over.
Okay.
So not data, just what your scope is and then how you're collecting your data right now.
Okay. Yeah, we're talking different.
So hopefully that's working out. Okay. So who wants to go?
CRSA, because you're the furthest left on the drive.
Yeah, you can come up. Oh, are you going to button them off of? Oh, can you guys bring up your computer as well so we can run it off the computer?
Oh, we can run off mine.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I'll just do a timer on mine.
Well, I was just going to have them bring it all up on their computer. I think that would be the easiest and like quickest. You just pull out
Let's go around one.
Oh, I hate the Google one. It scares me every time. I just want to like cry. I have learned.
Yeah, you first. Or? So we're a CRSA architecture company, and specifically we're looking into just analysis of different competitors and how we might be able to. So we might, because the customer is looking into buying some companies, so we're just looking into different kinds of competitors there are. We're looking specifically in Boise. How do you say that? Coeur d'Alene, thank you. Reno and Spokane, because those are areas that he's looking into expanding into. So if he could buy something, great.
Okay, so the way we're doing this is we've obtained license information from the Board of Engineers and also from the American Institute of Architects. And then we called the Chamber of Commerce and also the building departments of all the different cities, so Reno, Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, Boise. We obtained a list of architectural and structural companies. Sometimes they didn't have a full list, so we just asked for like their top 5. And then we categorized each company according to the portfolio that they had. So if they had K-12 projects, we would put them a little X next to that. And then we don't know how many calls we've made yet because we're still making calls. So, but we'll have that number soon. So the way that he wanted us to sort the companies was he wanted the company size, he wanted less than 15. He wanted the owner's license to be expiring soon so that we know that they're kind of getting close to retiring. Also, he wanted companies with strong ties to the community, and he wanted projects with K-12, retail, healthcare, just anything that has like a strong community kind of vibe.
And these are the ones that look promising because they're kind of small and have the kind of projects that he's looking for. So.
Cool, done?
Yeah.
All right, time to spare.
Okay, 2 minutes of questions.
Comments, anything you guys saw that would be helpful?
If you were seeing this for the first time, which you were, wasn't clear,
Yeah.
should be revised.
You were the client, what would you want to know?
Just one typo on the scope slide. Instead of acquisition, it should be acquire.
Yeah.
On this one as well, you could probably remove the goal of this project is to, you could just start with analyze, just to shorten it up a little bit. Another one I thought of on this one, something you can add in the future is like how many companies you called. So you have the number of phone calls that you'll be making, which is awesome. And then like showing how many companies that was geared towards.
We were told to kind of not directly call companies because we don't want word getting out or something that we're looking to acquiring companies. So
Okay.
Yeah.
that's why we're looking at Chamber of Commerce.
Gotcha.
Like
Sneaky.
Yeah.
Cool. One more minute. What are like? Yeah.
The next slide, I think it was the last one. It kind of, or one more. You have the location of Longwell Trap Architects, but you don't for Van Wart Bugatti Architects. So maybe you can make that consistent.
Is that right? That's pretty cool. Looks familiar.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good one. Any others, guys? This is pretty quick fire. Nothing too extreme in these. No. All right. Good job, guys.
Okay. Who's going next?
Who's next on the?
Oh, it
group
appears
chat?
that you want last.
Why is that?
We could just go ahead and go.
Yeah.
We don't have anything up there.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you guys can talk.
Okay.
You can just stay over there if you wanted.
You want us in the camera?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Oh, okay. All right, hello. Okay, so Taylor and I and Kyle. Yeah, we should come over here. Yeah. Anyways, we're with where is the reservoir team?
Caleb and Jordan, Tyson's online, but
Okay.
Caleb and Jordan are not here.
Anyhow, so we're part of the Hitachi team, and what we're doing, we would show you, but we can't get it up there. We have this like $30,000 Excel like sheet that we're working on. And essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a sheet such that normally when someone gets into computing, like cloud computing, they have to decide, do they want the computing on site, like are they going to make a building, or are they going to do it through some sort of service somewhere else, so like Amazon, Microsoft, etc. Anyways, there's a balance between whether or not like you should stay physical on site or actually go into the cloud somewhere else in terms of money and over a certain amount of time how much you save, etc. So this sheet that we're working on will tell you whether or not you should stay or not.
Although it is kind of built to give other competitors some kind of advantage to try and get them to buy their services to Amazon and Microsoft. So.
Exactly. So yeah, so normally people have to pay for these really expensive consultants to help them determine all these variables. Instead, we're making a sheet such that they can just buy our sheet from Hitachi and save a lot more money overall. And yeah, they have.
Yeah, it's the scope has kind of changed, and the methodology of it of what we're doing. So they had two models already made for certain companies, and they wanted us to kind of draw from them and make a new one for this company, and maybe another company that they might have a contract with. So it's kind of, we meet with Dave, our client, really often because it's really moving. There's a lot of moving parts in it, and kind of we're trying to work with some past interns as well to make it more maintainable, because the Excel file has really long formulas like if and index and lookups. And so we're
This wide,
Yeah.
this long.
Yeah, seriously. So their main goal is to try and work on those, and we kind of are to help them and see if we can understand it, and if not, things need to be changed for future interns. So it's just a lot of changing parts. I don't know.
Yeah, the only real data collecting that we've done is just updating values of the Microsoft and Amazon pricing. So
It's kind of buried in random places. So
Yeah.
very cool.
Any questions?
It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of
to look
difficult.
at.
Yeah, there's only edits that you can make. Okay, well,
Thank you.
I guess, yeah.
all right.
Let's
Who's
see.
going next?
Arctic
Yeah, don't you
Cat.
have more?
Yeah, that's good. All right, Arctic Cat.
Wait, okay.
So this is pretty general because we signed an agreement that we can't talk a lot about what we're actually doing. So it's vague. It's supposed to be.
So mysterious.
Kind of the scope. We're just doing a lot of surveying, getting a large amount of information so that they can make good market decisions based on the information that we gather.
I love that slide. That's just amazing. You said after nothing.
Yeah, we're gathering lots of information. Basically, we've identified 380 unique correspondents to get this information from. So far, we had 50, and then we did a consultation with them and went over the data that we received and then what it said to them, and then we talked with them, and they said okay, yeah, change a couple things, and then we had to go back. If you can go to the next slide. So then we had to go back to those 50 correspondents and ask a few additional questions. And currently we have 82 completed surveys. We've made 174 phone calls, 66 emails, and then 104 contact through websites. So so far in total, we have 163 unique individuals that we've attempted to contact, on top of the 82 that we have completed, and then there's 19 that have refused to do it. And that's pretty much all the things. The rest is just the template. So
Awesome. Cool. And you guys are finishing fast. All right.
Questions?
Cool. Questions, guys? Comments? Concerns?
You're doing a lot of survey right now.
I have a question. Are you going to be delivering this in front of Arcticat in like a presentation format, or are you just giving him like the data and the write-up?
we're still kind of working on that. It sounds like they mostly just want the data and a write-up.
Okay. So yeah, then you probably won't need to create a final. Great. I'm just wondering, like, like
In the future, like this, because this doesn't look super impressive,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it is. kind of.
yeah.
Well, they might also want a final deliverable, but we will have another meeting this week or next week, and then they'll kind of decide based on the data that we currently have.
Usually they want some sort of PowerPoint presentation with you explaining what happened through it. I don't think I've seen a project where they just didn't want any sort of presentation.
Yeah, I think they said that would be good. But mostly what they want in the near future is just the data,
Yeah.
and so they can start kind of that decision-making process. And then they said, like, yeah, that'd be good if we could get kind of like a write-up and a presentation after.
Just some good on the scope. Say we, just like on presentations and the write-ups.
Surveying.
Yeah, you just want to avoid personal pronouns.
Or the team, if you need to like specify over.
Yeah, but even then, you don't really need to. Another one I thought, so with your methodology, I think you got a lot of good stuff. I'd say like the formatting, the way you put it together, like if you started with 385 correspondence and then broke it down, like then go into your phone calls and then like how many individual companies you contacted.
So maybe move that last bullet to the next slide. And
Yeah.
kind of showed like how much we have total.
Yeah, I think you got a lot of good data on here, but or like points, but I think just the formatting of it is a little. So
Yeah.
great. Hey,
Nice,
good job,
we
guys.
use it all the time.
Kind of like a funnel. Funnel's really nice looking. Big number, small number, small number.
Cool.
All right, Bingham Memorial.
This is my team. It's not this team. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And go.
Okay, so we're doing our research project for Bingham Memorial Hospital in Blackfoot, Idaho.
Yes.
It's a feasibility study for Bannock County. They want to have more hospital service providers in the area, and so they're looking to do a micro hospital model for that. So we will be understanding the population trends and demographics for the area, as well as comparing saturation levels to decide which hospital services would be best for the county. So what we've first done for our methodology is created what we call a micro hospital list by population. We found 27 out of approximately 3,370 hospitals that identifies candidates. For our criteria, we've used a population similar to 75,000 people, as well as having inpatient beds that are less than 25, but not a critical access hospital, which means that a hospital, like in other hospitals, within 35 miles of that hospital. So for the 27 hospitals that we had, we called them at least twice for each of them, as well as 52 total calls, and we're still making calls, were made so far, as well as 5 agreed to interview. And within that interview, we asked them questions concerning their business model and how their business model has made them different and successful from their competitors.
So for finding what kind of services that we would present to them would be beneficial for the area, the underserved, we obtained location courses for those, kind of like what Will brought up, one of the first days here on training. And so we identified about 18 specialties that we're able to gather data for. And we used software, statistical programming software, to whittle it down to occupations in those between 54,000 and 120,000. And we wanted it only to healthcare because there's a ton of occupations out there. So we did that we got the location quotient for the occupations per city populations. We merged that together, and now we subsetted it to about, I don't know numbers on that, but it's a work in progress. So it's working along just fine. And the next few slides is just kind of like what we have so far. These are the interviews on phone, and that's kind of just some preliminary location quotient information.
Awesome. 10 seconds to spare. Cool. What do you guys like? What do you hate? No, I'm kidding.
You guys are really smart for using R. I'll say that.
Well, this last weekend I was just cramming through those subsets, so it's good.
I've never used R in my hometown life.
Yeah, I've never used it. Cool. A couple of things I noticed. So on this one, you put 54K and 120K. On this one, you put 75,000. So either way is fine. I just said keep it uniform, whichever way you like.
We noticed that.
With this one, is there like a certain level that makes it similar to 75,000? Like, is it within a certain percent, or is it just kind of?
So we should put a range.
Yeah, if you have a range
Like
like
the last one.
yeah, 75,000 plus or minus 5% or whatever you guys used.
That's fine.
Another one I thought of on 5 agreed to interview. Does that mean you actually did interview them, or that
Oh, we did. So we just say 5.
interviews?
Completed or?
Yeah, completed's good. Just
Okay.
just to make it clear.
Anything else that you guys saw? That you thought maybe wasn't really clear? Like maybe it wasn't clear this thing and that thing? Yeah.
So what's the 27 and 52? What's the difference between those two? 27 hospitals called, but yet 52 phone calls were made.
It's kind of like one of the earlier presentations where the total locations that we made contact with is 27, but overall we made 52 calls because a lot of them were repeat calls.
Okay.
So we'd have to like maybe leave a message, and so we called them back again, or maybe the connection was lost in between trying to find the right person who knew enough that we could interview with.
Kind of represents a little bit more of what our effort was.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, maybe just like put it in order, like 50, you in total you did 52 calls, right?
Right.
Maybe then of those 52, 27 hospitals were contacted or called.
Maybe like completed phone calls on the top one, and then attempted phone calls. The second.
Attempted, completed.
Yeah.
So it's more distinct. Like this one, we got a hold of somebody, and this one we didn't.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to kind of flip them. So I would put 52 phone calls made on the top, and then I would do a bullet point under it, indent it, and put 227 like unique hospitals or something like that. And then under that one, I'd indent and say 5 like completed interview. That way, it's a clear progression that 50 phone calls went to 27 hospitals, and 5 of those.
So it's like the funnel method.
Yeah, the funnel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, great. Well, you guys are done. So good job. Good stuff.
Thanks. Again.
All right. Well, I don't know because this isn't connected.
It does.
All right, Bonneville, you are up.
Awesome. So we're missing most of our group. We'll manage. So this is our Bonneville County project. It's pretty cool because working for the Sheriff's Department for some secret stuff we can't talk about. No, I can't tell you. No. So no, they really don't want to see. They want to have a. I guess we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah. Oh, thanks. So they want to do like a weight. They have I guess several different things they want from us. So, but the main one is they want a weight analysis serving like size and type agencies. So I want to see how different like sheriff's departments in Idaho and in like similar counties pay their workers and what benefits packages they offer them. And they're also looking for a best practices for a step and grade salary structure because that's what they use. But lately, the step and grade structure has been having some problems with like rising wages and like stagnant wages. And And I guess we're also doing like a little value added with a cost of living in every county was researched. So you want to see, like, say, for example, you take a raise in another county, is it going to matter because it's going to be higher prices? Oh, and the counties that were Bannock, Bingham, Bonneville, Kootenai, and Twin Falls.
That one's empty.
So this is an old PowerPoint. We actually updated this slide. So for the wage analysis, so when you do a wage analysis, you kind of do a couple of different steps. We start with first, the first thing kind of you do is you gotta know the compensation philosophy of the county or the provider. So in Idaho legislature, they have a compensation philosophy that they're supposed to follow. So that's kind of what we're using the base off of. And then after you have that, you kind of go through the different job descriptions. And once you kind of understand what each job does, you can use that when you start doing more comparisons. You group those into families. Then you decide between two different kind of methods. You have a ranking method and a point method when you do job evaluations, depending on what you want. The ranking method is much more simpler. So they just kind of want a general idea of how they rank up against other counties. That's the one they want to use. But if they want to very much more in depth and where they want to redo the entire compensation structure, point method's the way to go. So after that one,
this is a benefits analysis. So what we did was we got all the benefits offered in the county, but we saw the difference between regular county jobs and also sheriff departments benefits. So here I see kind of like this is an example for Kootenai. So we went through everything. Like they had medical insurance, extra benefits offered through the medical insurance, dental insurance, the vision insurance. So we went through all these things. And now after we, cataloged all of it, we're going to try and find like a monetary value for these benefits, because we're thinking if you work in the private industry, you might not get these things. So we're going to see, for example, let's say you take a lower paying county job, is it worth more because of the benefits? And then this is the cost of living that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so the best practices. So we found out there's 4 types of popular salary structures. There's traditional, which has like a lot of different like pay grades and just small distances between them. Then there's market, which is used to see what other companies pay similar positions. Then there's broadband, which is kind of like the weirdest one. You just get a group of positions and you just assign them or pay like just a budget and you work from there. And then that's it.
Cool, guys. Questions, comments?
Can you make the words a little bigger? It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it was with Google Docs. It was kind of weird. It was like, because I did it in PowerPoint, and then once I put it in Google Docs, it came out kind of weird.
Google Docs likes to mess it up.
Yeah, the font size is definitely small.
Maybe like a matrix would be better for laying this out.
Yeah.
Listen.
One thing I saw is that you guys put a period after every line, which is fine if you want to make every single line a sentence. But if so, you want to make sure that you stay uniform. And one of yours, right there. So for agencies survey, the last one is miscellaneous county positions, period. Well, that's not a sentence. So if you want to do a sentence, a period after every line, you can. Just you want to stay consistent. I prefer not having periods, but if, I guess there's nothing like technically wrong about them. But you can, but just that one doesn't need a period.
So on your scope, were those counties specifically given to you by your client?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So that's fine. One thing you might want to consider is just having a secondary scope slide, like have 2 slides. Just whenever you have like 2 columns, just it tends to get pretty cluttered.
Okay.
So it's totally fine to add another slide in there, and that way it just kind of cleans it up a little bit. Other than that, one thing I also for like the titles, wage analysis, you probably want to add like wage analysis methodology to show like this is how you like got the data and stuff, as opposed to this is actually your analysis.
See, that's where I got confused because I made like a methodology for like a few weeks ago, and I don't know if to put it in here or not. I didn't want to double dip or anything.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we were just doing like the scope methodology. We'll be doing the analysis in like in a week or so.
Okay, cool.
You guys are too far ahead. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's pretty good. So good job, guys.
Solid.
Who's this? LDS welfare.
Yeah, they're not here. Looks like.
Is that, are they online?
Yeah, that's what basic.
Okay. Oh, is that one of the Africa ones?
Oh, Kayla's.
Is Caleb here?
Caleb's not here. So.
Okay. We'll come back to that one in a sec. Let's do Family 360 then. Wait. 1 sec.
It's getting crazy.
This thing just wants to keep taking me on.
Oh yeah, I was saying we need to figure out a way for them to join.
Yeah. All right, go.
Okay, so it's me, Seth, and Charlie that are on the project, and it's called Family 360 Coaching Center. And basically what it is we're working with a guy named Perry Christensen, and he's worked with some executives at various companies, some pretty prestigious companies, and he developed a program to help balance work life with family life, and then kind of help people's family lives straighten out and things like that. And so the program was incredibly successful, and he wanted to transfer it to the average individual, just, not necessarily executives, just everyone across the United States. And so what we're doing is we're conducting a survey and a competitor analysis to better understand what they want. So for the Family 360 survey, we're conducting a customer demand analysis, basically figuring out exactly, do people even want something like this? Is this something that's going to be used? Is this something that's going to be needed? And then, okay, thanks. And then we want to determine the preferred online content. And so in addition to deciding if there's a demand for it, we also need to know what kind of stuff do people want in this website. And then as far as the competitor analysis goes, so in addition to the survey, the other part of our project that we want to do is we want to look at X number of websites and kind of look at the features that they have and the features that maybe they don't have, and put that together for them.
So we have several means of actually sending out our surveys. A couple of them are Amazon Mechanical Turk, just kind of an online service that they provide that pays people to take your survey. So we get some answers through there. And then we found a couple Facebook community pages where we're just going to post a link so we can get the general public involved too, just in case they don't actually go to websites to make paid surveys. And then kind of Taylor explained the competitor analysis. We're just going to take those websites that we get, compare them, and see what they offer so we can implement that into this website if everything goes as planned. So
yeah, that's it for now.
Cool. Questions, then we clap.
How accurate of results have you guys gotten from Enter?
We still haven't distributed it yet. We're still.
Okay. Don't distribute it at 10 cents. That's like a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I just threw out a random number for right now.
My guess is like
we haven't actually.
Yeah, I would
somewhere in the 5 to 8 range would probably be.
Try different like price ranges and then see what you
Yeah,
get.
we have to do this.
Yeah.
This is a survey.
Yeah.
Any other comments or thoughts, guys? No. I don't think I have any either. So. Cool. Good job.
You guys just get 2 classes. Okay, so
do you know what the African projects are they online right now?
So Caleb is on the.
Is he on the Hangout?
He won't be able to speak.
Yeah. We could do
So let's do knee jack. We would have to open up a.
Yeah, just do it.
You're talking about Alias? I was just talking to him on Slack. And he said,
No, we're talking about the African people, the African projects. African people. Sorry, that's not really that. I didn't mean like that. It's like when I said the knee jack people, like it's the NEJAC team and the African projects, it says Sonic. You guys can go talk before I say some more bad stuff.
Go.
Yeah.
So, NEJAC is just, right now, we're trying to figure out if there's a demand for a NEJAC. It's kind of like a brace, but not quite like a brace. It's to help people kneel without any pain. And it goes on your thigh and your shin. So nothing is on your kneecap. And so some of the things that we're trying to figure is the demand and how we should go to market, the best option to go to market, and how much people will pay for it.
Yeah, also like the best type of distribution, like if it's better that he goes through physical therapist or sell it directly to the customer or through like construction companies buying it for their employees and stuff like that. And also the next one. So what we have been doing is surveying physical therapists, like we have been calling them and ask them like trying to figure out the population and also the numbers of people that will use this product. We have to research between the difference between personal protection equipment or medical device and what would be the better way to classify this item as. Like, so we have found out some differences and also what would be the best way for him to take his product to the market.
So we've created surveys for each specific market, for the medical, through physical therapy or construction. And we are just about to distribute and start calling those to get in the data to figure out what would be the best way for them to distribute the NEJAC.
So those are kind of like the main things from physical therapy.
Okay.
Cool.
So some things that I saw where you said survey construction with a capital C. Oh, it was on that slide actually. C doesn't need to be capitalized. As well as that first bullet point, you said distribution of physical therapists and people with knee injuries. How I say distribution of survey, or like,
yeah,
it's not clear what's being distributed. It sounds like you're like distributing physical therapists, as in the
okay. The survey.
Yeah.
Just formatting as well. The second one doesn't have a period, second bullet point. So
Okay.
either way is fine. Just make sure it's the same. On this one it says surveyed physical therapists to gather data. You probably want to put like how you surveyed them, if it's like an email or a phone call, as well as like how many physical therapists you surveyed. And then if it's like a phone call, how many phone calls you did. And just break it down like that. It's kind of a funnel method again. I think those are some of the big ones I saw. Do you guys have anything that you guys saw from what we've been talking about from others? Nothing. All right. Anything? Will, you got anything? Cool.
Okay, cool.
Good job, guys.
Can you just open all of them?
Yeah, maybe I should. This is ridiculous.
All right, let's do science construction next.
Yeah, I put this on PowerPoint, so
We'll just view it as a Google slide, so it might mess with the format. So just so everybody's aware, format might be.
It will mess up your format.
To a degree. But punctuation and spelling it won't mess up. So.
All right, go.
Awesome. So we're doing a project for Science Bank on the construction industry in Idaho. If you want to go to the next slide. So basically what we're doing is University of Utah, they do something that's very similar that we're going to try and mimic. They do it for the state of Utah. Basically, it just goes over what like building permits and stuff like that, like how the industry is doing in the state of Utah. So our goal is to create something for the state of Idaho because that doesn't exist.
Okay, so I know this is like a massive spreadsheet and it's going to be hard to read from just about anywhere. But the idea here is to take major areas of Idaho, because obviously there's too many little cities, it's too hard to get data, they don't even have the data in some areas, and compare them and find correlation between home value, the growth in home value, colleges in those areas, enrollment growth, and building permits in terms of both the count and the value of those permits. And so basically in this table, what I've done is I have taken the value of homes from 2008 to 2017. I have measured that growth. Then I went and charted where in those areas, if they actually have colleges, state colleges or universities. And then I've compared that growth to the areas where the home value went up, and that is summed here. So in areas where the home value, in areas where there is a state college or university in the last 10 years, they've seen their home value go up by 6%, whereas in areas where they don't have colleges, they've actually lost 1% in their home value. That's where I tied it then to building permits in terms of the count and the value. Again, 2008, 2017, and then an average of the last 3 years. So you can see basically based on the green and the red conditional formatting, where there is green across the board, it usually stays, but where there is red, it is obviously lacking in terms of growth for not only the colleges in terms of their enrollment going down, but the building, the construction in terms of the total amount of building permits and the value of those permits is going down within those areas. And so we're going to get into more into that. This is still kind of just a mass of data, but yeah, that's kind of the idea of what we're doing.
And so kind of like what our final deliverable will include is a lot of data, but also our analysis. So kind of what we've been working on, struggling with, is gathering the data. For example, building permits is kind of what we want from Idaho. We've been calling every single county in Idaho, and a lot of them, I mean, it's like population of like 5,000, and they don't keep information like that. And we've just been struggling to gather all that, but we're still working on it. We've kind of to gather what we wanted to do with the project. We've called a lot of counties, a lot of companies trying to get all of that.
Awesome. Cool. More questions, comments?
So I was just working on a data set with permits in Idaho, and it was actually between 08 and 09. There's a huge issue because of the recession. Have you guys addressed like part of any of that in your data?
Well, not really, because this isn't typically like a historical report. The report that's released in Idaho is on a quarterly basis, but the current quarter.
Okay.
I really just wanted to go back to since 2008 just to see how Idaho performs, so I know the nature of the state. But it's all going to be summed up into, a quarterly report that's going to give the data now. But obviously, in any recession, building permits are going to fall, the economy is going to suffer, and then it's going to, recover. So.
Cool. Yeah. Any others?
Yeah. I don't know if this has been said yet, but I don't know if it's necessary to have that zones be.
Oh yeah, I literally just put the slide together in like the last 30 minutes. So don't even sweat it. Yeah, I know the pictures. Yeah, it doesn't need to be in every single slide. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, on the one where you had the analysis, the last part, you've got the cities with little stars next to them. What do the stars represent?
Okay, so this.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's actually a great question. So these are just the major areas because these are specifically listed on Zillow, but this is accounting for more than just Boise. So anything that has a star by it, well, I guess this kind of goes in multiple directions. I'm sorry.
On the actual Excel spreadsheet we have.
Yeah.
It shows the.
Yeah, and there's keys. And so basically,
I was like,
if there's one star, it's a university. 2 stars is a university and state college.
3 stars both.
3 stars both. So yeah, I could go from there. Yeah, and then if it's highlighted in yellow, that just means that it's accounting for more than just that area. Because obviously in Idaho, there's a lot of smaller areas that surround bigger areas. So Boise obviously accounts for a lot more than just Boise. Gotcha. So.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
That's me too. This one right here.
So we got next.
Oh, yeah, let's do Stukin because that's
This one?
No, sorry, that one. The evaluation one. Yeah.
And these presentations, of course, don't have to follow the format of a final deliverable in terms of the template. But we would like you guys to use that template when you create your final deliverable that you present for your client. There's examples as well as templates in the Google Drive. Are you the only one?
Yeah, I'm the only one for the evaluation.
Oh, that's so lonely. I'm sorry.
Right, you got 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, obviously, you guys know who Stukin is. If you don't, they're basically a business that creates education simulations, and so I am valuing them right now. The project scope is obviously, for anyone that's knowledgeable in terms of valuation, it's looking into their financials as well as their non-financial areas, so more analytical, and then we're going to assign a value based on that. And so in terms of a financial scope, it's really looking at ratios, forecasting their cash flows, looking for anything that might be hindering their performance, their future cash flows, anything like that. And then analytical is more of like Porter's 5 forces applied to a local business. So we're looking at their competition, what are their buyers in terms of their power, what's the threat that Stukin can be replaced, things like that, as well as intangibles, patents, licenses, what's their reputation, availability of their buyers, management, performance projections. And so we're still in the preliminary stages of this, but as of right now, they're looking pretty good. They're really strong. They kind of have what's the word, like a niche in terms of what they do. Their business model is specifically centered around creating an online simulation with an online textbook that updates consistently. And it's only within the social media marketing area, which is something that most businesses in the country as of right now don't have. They're still creating the content, the courses. Either they have the content or they don't have the course, they don't have a textbook, etc. And so they've really got a good spot there. Go to the next slide. Okay, so obviously this is a little more technical in terms of the valuations that we're looking at right now. Book, enterprise versus equity, intrinsic in a comparable market. Book value is good more for businesses that deal in real estate because they actually have high assets, which this company does not because their main asset is intangible. Enterprise versus equity is given values of just over $1 million versus 586,000. Obviously, intrinsic and comparable market are going to be determined later in the future. There's also other valuation methods that we're looking at that I don't have on here as well in terms of like the venture capital method and things like that. And then scope space. And then so basically for the intrinsic value, which is going to be the one that we're most likely going to be using, it's really about taking a combination of the hard number calculations and then molding that with knowledge relevant to ratios and like those key traits that I mentioned in the previous slide, and adjusting that number to give an appropriate value. Go to the next one. Project issues, finding a comparable company. Given the private nature of the business in the market, there is not a readily amount of data in terms of these companies and their value being sold and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Questions, comments from the peanut gallery?
I had like way above my head. That was good though.
Yeah,
I don't think I
No,
Yeah,
you either just confuse them all or you just were really that good.
What are you using to find company values?
I mean, honestly, I've just been looking like everywhere on websites. So I don't know. I don't think so.
Crypto's on the library. It's a database that they have.
Okay, so now we're gonna do science wages, real quick. And if you can do it in 2 minutes, and that'd be fantastic.
I can do that. Kylan's not here with us. He's here because he's in Colorado. He's here in spirit. Kyle, Todd.
Well, he's probably watching right now.
Yeah, he's watching. So I'm just gonna go through this with you guys for 2 minutes. So where Zion's wages? So first we determined what kind of wage difference growth we were looking at. Once we did, we got a hold of Nate Vaughn, present PhD in economics. He's a professor here at the university and he's a state legislator. And he gave us some ideas. Go to the next slide. So our methodology is we broke his different ideas into different people and assigned those people to study those. The first one is education. Alian has kind of gone into that. And that's the scope that he's kind of gone into education, the things that he's looked at. We'll go to the next slide. And then my scope that I took care of was the predominant industries. And these are some of the things that I went into, such as advanced manufacturing, aerospace, the type of wage histograms we're looking at. And go to the next slide. And that's just a link to our report. I think that was even under a minute. But
That was, yeah.
What's your name? Todd. That's Todd. Okay, now I can put a face to your name. So, yeah, that's what we've done so far.
Cool.
Questions?
I just have a thought. I really don't care, but every single data visualization guy I've talked to does not like 3D in any way.
Okay.
So if you were to present that, you might have someone be like, make a comment about it.
Yeah.
A cluster bar chart might be an easy way to display that. What it's going to do is just put the bars side by side.
Right.
So
So,
there's a
with
big
the,
side.
like with the dots, that one, is that what you're talking about? Oh, the
no.
cluster bar
Yeah,
chart.
it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
it's just going to color code them and group them together side by side, so you can see
Right.
better like how they both compare and then
That's a
together.
good idea.
I got two things on this graph. So your x-axis is all over the place. So like 716, it's like 2580. That's your mean probably. So just make sure it's like more consistent, and then like your mean, you can put the 2580 up top with like your mean.
Okay.
And then your wage histogram, you can probably take that out and put it like into your title. So you say wage histogram of predominant industries, just to make your your graph a little bit less cluttered.
Cool. Just look a little neater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one more thought actually.
Yeah.
Shania and I were just talking about it. I go back to that one.
Yeah.
Why is there, it almost appears to be 3 different colors? Is it because
it's overlap?
Yeah, it's
It's an
overlap.
overlap.
That's another thing that will probably help better with the cluster.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say there's only 2 on your legend. There should be
Yeah.
3 if they're
So yeah, it's
Kinda
the
like
pink
that.
and blue together make purple.
Yeah.
Come on, did you not go to middle? You know,
for math?
Not joking.
Is it a picture of the chart too?
That's a picture, yeah.
Yeah, Google's, we don't care about Google.
Oh, okay, we don't. Okay.
It's in your final PowerPoint, don't make it a picture.
Okay.
One thing you guys might want to consider on this one is doing the wage histogram by industry and by nation versus Idaho. Because it seems like it's just combining all the industries together.
Right.
I don't know if that's something in your scope or not, but
I might be able to find the data on that. But yeah, if I do, I can definitely do that.
could be interesting if it
Yeah.
fits.
That's a generic graph that we probably end up getting rid of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's no axes on it. There's it's
Right.
it's kind of tough to.
Anything else, guys? No.
I do want to sit down with you guys sometime and just talk through your strategy on getting all this. So
cool.
We can stick to a schedule that would work.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll talk to you after this meeting. We'll figure out when that'll work best.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys. I know we didn't get
One
to
more?
everybody. We've got.
How many do we have?
Oh, we just got Stukin.
Just Stukin. Are you able to give it in like a minute and a half or 2 minutes?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that because then we'll be all done. We won't have to do it again.
Okay, how's the
It's good.
That's good.
So this is a way simpler Stukin project than the other one. And this one, we're just looking for, we're trying to like find teachers for new courses Stukin is making, which is consumer behavior and principles of marketing. So what we're doing is we're going through all the, so I guess our methodology is in the last page. So we're going to the top 50 schools in every state. And then after we find the schools, we're going through the faculty list and finding which teachers teach what, getting their emails, their names, and I guess what's their position. And then you can go up one. Sorry. This is kind of like how it looked. I guess the Google Doc kind of messed that up. So the blue is principles of marketing, the green is consumer behavior. And it's just for some of the colleges in Florida. And so can we go back to the last one? And then when we get these names, we're going to have a survey saying what kind of textbook they use, if they're willing to like help in creating a new course, and what are some of the things with the courses.
Awesome.
Solid.
Cool. Perfect. No comments.
Okay, great. So thanks everybody for coming. Just remember methodology, your write-up methodology is due this week, get your PM. It's probably gonna be like half a page to a page long, maybe longer depending on your project. So this is the actual physical write-up.
The average is gonna be like a page.
Yeah, a page. All right. Yeah. Okay, thanks online people. Sorry for the technical difficulties. The internet was really weird today.
What's your morning look like?